Hello everyone, this is Ronnie. On this channel we talk about the raw food diet, raw vegan diet, the fruit-based raw vegan diet. If you'd like to learn more about that, if you're interested in that, you can subscribe to the channel. And we talk about health stuff, health information and all sorts of things, I suppose, but mostly in that sort of area. And you'll also get the videos of my interviews for the Love Fruit podcast if you subscribe to the channel, so you can do that. Anyway, this video is about what are the worst things I've eaten on a raw food diet, and by which I really mean the least raw, the least healthy, etc. So sometimes we can stretch the boundaries of what a raw diet is, and we can maybe make believe that we're eating 100% raw at times, and there's things in our diet that are either not exactly raw or not as raw as they could be, or what have you. So in the last, since 2011, I started to learn about the raw vegan diet seriously. In 2012 I went raw and stuck to that pretty consistently for about 5 years. And then, not for health reasons or anything, I ended up eating cooked food again. And it took me about 6 months to get back to eating 100% raw again, and then I've been doing that since. But I thought I'd like to be open about things in the diet that you might not think are raw, or other people might not think are raw, that I've included in the diet at times. Sometimes a lot, sometimes not much. It kind of depends. So let me think. Let me think how to structure this. So I would say, for example, I went through a period of time where I started to eat a lot of nuts. Now, are nuts really raw? I'm not 100% convinced. Some of them might be, some of them not so much. But things like pistachios, mostly it was pistachios. I went through a phase of eating a lot of pistachios. It's not because I needed the fats. It's not because I needed the calories. It's not like it was just nuts are addictive basically, and pistachios are the one that I like most by far. So I've not had a pistachio in a long time. I used to sometimes eat like a bag a day, quite a packed bag. I could eat a lot of nuts and subsequently put on weight doing that. So if you want to put on weight, you can do that eating nuts, but there's no absolutely no advantage of getting of adding body fat. So nuts for sure. Is it 100% raw? We still put it in the raw category because we're not cooking it, but is it really raw? I don't really know. So that's definitely one thing I would say that I've had over the years. Right now, I'm sticking quite far away from nuts. I've added occasional cashew nuts or something to a dressing. Sometimes I do that. I tend to prefer to stay away from nuts completely, to be honest. To be completely honest, um, I don't think they add any benefit to you. I think they're just something that will make a recipe, give it a particular flavor. But fats, I personally prefer a very low fat diet. As soon as I start to add fats, and I do it at times, I kind of regret it. So that's one thing. Nuts. Something that I've always had from the start now and then is pasteurized juices. Now a lot of people will say that's not raw. Pasteurized juices are bad and blah blah blah. And I accept that they're not the best thing. They're not the best thing um, to consume, but they've always been a bit of a backup for me on my diet. They've been something that if I go to a restaurant or a place, I'm happy to have an orange juice. I don't ask where it's come from. I don't ask if it's raw or not. I just order orange juice, apple juice, pineapple juice, whatever they've got. I would rather sorry, I'm touching my nose a lot. I would rather bit itchy face. I would rather consume that and have some level of satisfaction than feel hungry and be surrounded by cooked food and potentially crave something like that and eat it. So I would 100% rather have orange juice. Now the other thing is that these pasteurized juices for me, and or pasteurized smoothies in a bottle, they are not addictive as far as I can see. So I don't have them, and then I have to have it the next day. Then I have to have it the next day. Then I have to. That relationship doesn't form with pasteurized juices. So I can go into a restaurant or something if I have to have a glass of orange juice, and I know that I'm not going to be thinking about orange juice or want to have it again the rest of the day or the next day or develop a kind of weird habit with it. That doesn't happen. So pasteurized juices, I would say, when was the last time? I would have had one of those probably in the last week, if not the last month. In the last month, if not the last week, where there's a bottle of juice in the house or something, I'll have some of it. So I'm not particularly against it. Is it raw? Not technically not, Is it bad? I don't think it's that bad. I don't think it's ideal. But once we get to a particular level of our diet, we're going into territory of, like, is it really making a difference anymore? Pasteurized juice, raw juice, it's how big is the difference? Some people will say huge difference, some people will say not. Now, does that mean I want to live on juice? No. I have had times where I've had too much, where I've just not planned anything and I'm just buying juices because I'm kind of busy in my life or something and I'm not very well planned what I'm doing. And it's definitely not good to live on or have too much of it. There was some fresh juices in Tesco. They had like more fresh orange juice. I don't know if it was really fresh or not, but that stuff was pretty good, and it was full of the pulp, so it had the fibre, which is pretty good. So if you can find juices, I mean, if there was more fresh juice like that, I would probably have that all the time. I would have that over pasteurized juice, but not being the case, it can be a way of upping your calories. It can be a way of having something when you're, traveling around, and if you're in an airport, if you're in this place, that place, you'll always be able to find an orange juice if you're craving something. So that's definitely something I've had. There's been random one-offs. The other thing, so this is a big one. Defrosted sweet corn, defrosted peas. Those are both blanched, which means they are boiled or they're in hot water. I think it's for a short period of time. I don't know the process. The idea is to try and kill off anything, fungus and everything that might be on it. That's what happens to a lot of different foods. I don't know if it's like heat treated mangoes. I don't really know. I think it's probably more because it's definitely softer than the raw stuff. But some raw varieties are soft as well of sweet corn and peas. And raw peas can be quite soft if they're early. So defrosted peas and sweet corn, I still wouldn't really say I still really wouldn't say it should be a big part of a raw diet. I don't think it's a staple in a raw diet. I definitely don't think people should have it every day. Is it a once in a while thing? Is it used for a recipe or something once in a while? Maybe, but I've definitely had it a couple of times, and even quite recently I've had some defrosted sweet corn in a few things, and I made a soup and I did different things, and it's just not something I want to go towards being a habit. So I'm vigilant about that, because I have had times in the past when I had a very long period of time of having sweet corn and peas, and I added tahini and tomato and blended. And in fact, I'd sometimes use the tomato paste, if you know that tomato paste stuff. I don't know if that gave it extra flavour or whatever I was thinking, but that was a meal that I used to eat, was defrosted peas, defrosted sweet corn, tahini, tomato. I'd mix that all together, and it's delicious. but you're basically veering into like this is pretty much cooked food now. Pretty much is maybe it's on some kind of borderline, but because you're not eating it warm, you're not technically like whatever. But yeah, it's not exactly 100% raw. So I had a period of doing that. That was quite a long time ago, and put on a lot of weight doing that. Tahini is an absolute weight gain magical formula if you want to gain fat. Um, but and tahini in itself is something that I don't particularly think is 100% raw. You know, I know that you can get raw tahini. Uh, I'm just not convinced. Um, some of my friends said in the past that they tried to make tahini like in a blender with sesame seeds and it never tastes the same as the tahini you get in jars. So I'm guessing it's not really the same thing. It tastes pretty roasted whenever you have tahini. There's some kind of difference to the flavor, and I'm a bit sad. Like I've seen quite a lot of people who are raw vegans that have tahini, and I can see the way that people get really kind of feverish around it, and people start to have it every day. And I think anything that you can't stop yourself having every day is not great. And tahini is so high in fat; it's essentially oil. You know, I don't care what people say about it. To me, it's like oil, and it's just a pathway to putting on weight and having up and down blood sugar sort of feeling, which is not comfortable. So I would stay away from tahini. It's kind of a raw thing, but it's definitely been used in raw foods recipes for years. But I don't think they're not ideal. Are they a once in a while thing? Tahini for me is not even a once in a while thing. Basically, um, I pretty much stay away from it. I think the last time I maybe really had it, well, I've maybe added it to a few things that I've made gourmet things. But I remember having it at Canada Fruit Fest. They were putting a lot of it and stuff. But that's that to me. That's one of the worst things actually. Tahini. I don't think that's great at all. Salt. I've had salt on a bunch of occasions, mostly as part of recipes. Once or twice I had nuts that had salt in it and I just had it anyway. Uh, I don't add salt to things. I In raw food restaurants I've had things with salt in it. And there's been a few other times that I've used something that had salt in it, but I never add salt. I never add salt. It's usually if I happen to have an ingredient that has salt in it, whether it's dried tomatoes or something, or sun-dried tomatoes or something like that. So I've had salt, but I've had very little salt compared to most people. And on a daily basis, I stay away from salt. I've definitely had it at times. So there's those things. I'm trying to think. Well, not dehydrated. Frozen. What's it called? Freeze dried. Freeze dried fruits and vegetables. I've had a bunch of those over the years. Peas. Basically the freeze dried peas, freeze dried sweet corn. Those are the raw vegan crack. You know. But freeze dried a whole bunch of stuff. I've tried a lot of that. That was pretty. I mean, it's tasty. You can use it in. You can probably use it in salad dressings and stuff. I don't have any right now. I don't really order any right now, but at times just for something different, I've had that. And if I saw some in the shop, I'd probably take them. Like if I happened to be walking around the shop and I saw a bag of them, like mixed freeze dried vegetables, I'd maybe be tempted to have them. They're quite tasty. Are they really bad? They're not that bad. Like the after effects. A lot of these things, as long as you don't eat in a massive quantity over a long period of time, you're probably not going to feel any bad side effects really. Oil. So there's definitely been times where I've been in a restaurant and I've had a salad with oil. Oil. If you don't have oil in your diet, then you have it, you can definitely feel the difference. You definitely feel slowed down, like your blood, your blood flow slowing down, your brain slowing down. You just feel that oily, heavy feeling. So I stay away from oil, but I've definitely had it. Raw gourmet, raw chocolate. I've had some of that at times. Um, yeah, raw chocolate. Raw chocolate isn't too bad. It's just that it's got some kind of stimulating effect in it at times that it can affect your sleep if you have a lot of it or if you have a bunch of it. I don't really have raw chocolate that much, but I have had it. Other bad things I've eaten on a raw food diet or unhealthy things. I don't know. The least healthy things I ate really were when I went back to eating cooked food for a while, and I was not so in control of my diet, and I had some things like veggie burgers and stuff, and I don't know if they were completely vegan. I didn't know, So there was a few situations like that where I had things, and but on a raw diet, that's pretty much all the worst things I've had, and continued to say I'm on a raw food diet, basically. But over the last few years, my diet has mostly been fruits and very simple salad of tomatoes and lettuce. At the moment, I'm transitioning because I'm a binge eater, right? So with the tomatoes, I end up going too far, and so I've cut out the tomatoes at the moment. I've cut out the tomatoes for the last week. I wouldn't advise that for the rest of you, but I just binge on things sometimes. So I was eating a lot of tomatoes over a long period of time. So I've cut that out for the while. So I'm trying to work out what I want in my salad, because I don't really want to have a high fat salad, or I don't really want to have any fat in my salad, but I'm not sure how to replace tomatoes for the mainstay of my salad. So I'm not really sure. Another thing I'd say, actually, the thing that's was the absolute worst, I would say, probably the thing that's had the worst impact on my health on a raw food diet was dates. And like dates and dried fruit, they're not too bad for the body, but for your mouth, for your teeth, they cause tooth decay. And I wish I'd never eaten dates in the quantities I did, how much I did. I listened to bad advice. No one else seemed to be telling me very strictly to avoid them or why to avoid them. And the damage that I've done to my teeth because of dried fruit and dates in particular is is something that I can't reverse, So um, that really frustrates me that I did that, because the thing is, I knew that fruit was healthy and was the right thing, so I couldn't work out what was happening with my teeth, and I refused to kind of listen. And I went. I don't think anyone was clearly saying that dried fruit is the problem, when I was trying to get an answer on that. Um, so that's been the thing that had the biggest worst impact for me. The peas. When I ate lots of green peas defrosted for a long period of time, they caused facial rashes and stuff. I actually got rashes in my face from eating green peas so much. So that wasn't good. And then the tahini, the nuts, I put on weight doing that. So yeah, it's always when you stray away from the things that are good, like the fruit, the vegetables, stick to those things, you'll be pretty good. Move away from those things, you can get into a bad place if, like me, you take it a bit too far. So that's my video for today. Feel free to put down below your reaction to that, or what you think are the worst things you've eaten on a raw food diet. If you want to join the mailing list to get further announcements about stuff by email, you can go to fruitfest.co.uk. And thank you very much.